Oh man, it is amazing that we're here to talk about this movie today. I didn't think in my lifetime I'd be able to talk about this type of movie because I just never thought we'd be here. Isn't that amazing? Yes, it's Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. I think was it last year specifically that the Winnie the Pooh lore and like the actual like storybook characters went into the public domain. It was 2021 or 2022 around that time when the characters of Winnie the Pooh, the entire world, Christopher Robin, the Hundred Acre Wood, and all of the characters went to the public domain. And from that moment, you're like, okay, who's going to be the first studio or the first part of this creative world we live in to attempt something? Is it going to be a video game, a comic book, a TV show? Well, it's a horror movie. It's a horror movie, a low budget horror movie, and limited release. Saw it the other day. I had a really fun time. Again, here's the thing that needs to be abundantly clear when we talk about this movie. It's not for everybody. If you want to go into this thinking you're getting a really good Winnie the Pooh story, you're not. If you think you're going to be getting something creative and genius, you're not. It is a slasher flick where the villain is Winnie the Pooh. That's what this is. There's no other way to put it. That's what you're walking into. Knowing that, I know you're going to have a good time because the audience that is going to go see this is the one that knows what this is. But if you're hesitant on like, well, a new Winnie the Pooh thing, I like that. Maybe don't go into this unless you want to see a slasher flick where a pig and a bear team up to kill a bunch of kids. That's what this is. And it's really fun. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's a brilliant story. It's not changing the game. It's not revolutionary. It is just, here you go. You've seen Friday the 13th. You know, kids are weird like that. It sets up its premise very fast. Christopher Robin abandoned these weird creatures that are part mutant, abomination-y things, like they're not like, animals he played with. They're like, these are grotesque creatures that evolved weird, that are in this woods. Christopher Robin meets them. He grows up, goes to college, falls in love. When he comes back as a man, Pooh and Piglet are the only ones left. They have killed Eeyore, they might be cannibals, and they start hunting people. That's the story. That's what you're walking into. And then it's like, hard cut, here's a bunch of girls going away to a cabin to escape from the everyday drawls. One of them has a little more in-depth narrative going on with her, with like actual like history of being stalked by people in her home. And I'm like, you did not need to add that sequence, but I understand why you did. It's just very creepy that you have it in there. So that's an interesting twist. And then boom, here comes Pooh and Piglet. That's what this is, okay? You've seen this before, but it works well here. And the thing is, like, when you have a director and a talent who knows what they're doing with this budget, you get something special. I was reading some, like, comments and reviews from people who clearly didn't go into this with, like, the expectation of something, what it's supposed to be. It's like, this is dumb and boring, and like, it's so lazy and stupid, and the acting's terrible, and the directing's terrible. First off, the directing is not terrible. There are some genius camera movements in here, some beautiful angles being presented. To say that this filmmaker, whose name is escaping me at the time of this recording, is a bad filmmaker is a lie. There are certain techniques in here where I'm like, wow, you did not have to hold on this shot for so long. Wow, you did not have to like zoom out of focus for that in that way. You didn't have to like cut in this interesting capacity. A lot of good stuff like that does happen in here. There are some like transition moments where I think are very minimalistic, and that I guess that does work for what the story is about, but I thought, oh, maybe we could have done more like B-roll there or change it in a different way. Very compelling, though. To say this is a badly made movie is a lie. Because the production looks good, the sets are great, the cabin, like the weird trailer park, trashy place Piglet and Pooh live, is gorgeous and breathtaking. Even the costumes, the actual prosthetics that these actors are wearing for Piglet and Pooh are impressive. The mouth and eyes move more than I expected them to for these costumes, so that was kind of cool to see. And that's another thing too, like it is just a big warthoggy looking man who is squealing all the time, chasing you down. And Pooh is psychotic. I don't want to get too much into what Pooh does, but he just smears his face in honey and drips it over your body before he eats you. It's pretty weird. And he can control bees? What? And I'm like, that's weird. But the thing is, the entire time I'm watching this movie, and I'm pretty sure this was like the reaction with the audience I saw it with, because everyone in our theater was erupting with joy at every moment. It's like, I'd want to see more of this. There are certain characters they didn't mention in any capacity. There's certain ones where we don't see what happens to them. The main characters that we know the fate of are Pooh, Piglet, and Eeyore, but the rest of like the characters we don't really know. And that's kind of interesting. I think it's setting up like we could do more stuff in here if we wanted to, which I do believe there is an audience that would want to see more from this. I myself do, because this was really well made. A great slasher flick. The gore was good enough. Could it have been better? Sure. Did we cut away at sometimes? Sure, but we see a bursting eyeball. I can't complain about that. No matter what the movie does, the fact that we saw a bursting eyeball is pretty exciting, and that's really cool to see. Great violence. Again, sure, the acting may be a little rough, but what are you expecting? What are you really expecting? I think what surprised me the most was everyone was British. So I'm like, I guess this universe is kind of set like in Britain, in like that world. I don't know, I guess I'm just so Americanized that I just imagine like everyone talks with like an American accent in this world, because I just know like the Disney Pooh characters and all that. But it's really creative. I gotta say, like, this is how you would do something like this. If you were like a small-time filmmaker, you're like, I want to make my film made, I want to make a slasher flick, I need a hook. How about a character that just entered the public domain that's going to get eyes on it? And that's a really good thing to see, because it worked well. There wasn't a bad spot in this movie. It knew exactly what it was doing. Anybody who says this is bad is just not understanding the genre or the tropes it's aiming for. It's not a perfect movie. It's not a great movie by any stretch, but to say it's incompetent or wrong is false. It knows the tone it's going for. It has a millennial skew on things, which is very cool to see. It's kind of like a throwback. It definitely felt like a throwback to me, just going to old school slasher, not running through the city with these big actors and blah, blah, blah. Just, here we are in the woods. Here's a pig trying to eat us. That's what we get here. Genuinely terrifying villains. And Christopher Robin has a surprising arc in this movie about learning what he is responsible for. And I'm like, that is so twisted and weird. But it's creative. You know, there's so much about this movie that just stuck the landing. Of course, it won't be for everybody, so I'm not going to say go out and run to it if you're not a fan of slasher flicks, but if you want something that's a little bit different. Look, we're in a weird era for slasher flicks. Like, the biggest ones are like the franchise pieces now. They all feel kind of formulaic and just caught up in the moment of when they are filmed. This is a genuinely surprising film. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey feels like a throwback, like an 80s slasher flick with today's innuendos and ideas presented to you. Look at the idiots on Instagram, look at these women who don't think about stuff, then boom, here comes Winnie the Pooh, smothered in honey, ready to cook you on a Barbie. You know, like, it's kind of smart. It's not smart, but it's genius in its own way. And that's kind of cool to see. Something like that, it rarely happens. So it's fun when it does. So, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. I have no doubt in my mind we are going to get more of these because my audience had a great time. I am going to give a 6 out of 10. Now, thank you all for watching this review. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Hive. And I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.